The Crithian warship emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. Commander Vask stood on the bridge, his scales gleaming under the cold light of distant stars. 6 months had passed since the humans went silent, 6 months since their desperate transmissions stopped, 6 months since they vanished without a trace. "Scan the planet," Vask ordered, his voice rough like grinding stones. The sensor officer worked quickly, his clawed fingers dancing across the console. "Commander, I'm picking up power signatures across the entire planet. Cities are still running. Technology is still active, but what?" Vask leaned forward, his tail swishing with anticipation. "There are no life signs. None at all. The humans are gone." A ripple of excitement moved through the bridge crew. Earth, the homeworld of humanity, was empty. All those resources, all that technology, all those perfect colony worlds, now free for the taking. The Crithian Dominion had been at war with the Zephyrah Collective for 3 years. They needed resources desperately. The humans had refused to choose a side, had begged both powers to stop fighting. Their weakness had been pathetic to watch. "Take us into orbit," Vask commanded. "Prepare landing teams." As the warship moved closer to the blue planet, every screen on the bridge suddenly flickered. A message appeared, repeating on all frequencies in every language known to the galaxy. The words were simple, cold, and absolute. "We warned you. This war will be your last mistake." Vask felt a chill run down his spine, but he pushed it aside. The humans were gone. This was just an automated message, a final act of spite from a dead civilization. He had nothing to fear from ghosts. The landing teams found New York exactly as its inhabitants had left it. Coffee cups sat on tables, still full. Vehicles waited at traffic lights that continued to change colors. In offices, computers displayed half-finished work. Beds were unmade. Meals were half-eaten. It was as if every human on Earth had simply stopped existing in the same instant. But there were no bodies. No signs of struggle. No evidence of disease or disaster. The humans hadn't died. They had just disappeared. Similar reports came from human colonies on Mars, Europa, and Titan. Every human settlement in the solar system was the same, functioning, but empty. The galaxy's most populous species, numbering in the hundreds of billions, had vanished in an instant. The Galactic Council convened emergency sessions. Representatives from dozens of species gathered to discuss the mystery. But underneath the concern there was relief. Humanity had been annoying in their constant peace talks, their endless negotiations, their stubborn refusal to understand that war was simply how the galaxy worked. Ambassador Thelen of the Zephyrah Collective addressed the council. Perhaps they fled to another galaxy. Their faster-than-light technology was quite advanced. Or perhaps they destroyed themselves, suggested Councillor Dravik, his tentacles waving thoughtfully. They were always emotional creatures. Maybe they couldn't handle the stress of watching our war. No one mentioned the final speech that the human ambassador had given, just days before the vanishing. She had stood before the council, her face tired and sad, and spoken words that now echoed in the memories of those who had been there. "You think we're weak because we value life," she had said. "You'll learn we valued life because we understood death. We've tried peace. We've tried negotiation. We've tried everything. But you won't stop. You can't stop. So we'll stop you." The council had laughed. What could the humans do? They had no empire to rival the Crithians. They had no hive mind like the Zephyrah. They were just humans, clever, creative, but ultimately fragile. Now those words seemed less like a threat and more like a promise. But the galaxy moved on. The Crithian Dominion claimed the Sol system as their territory. The Zephyrah Collective established bases on human colonies in neighboring systems. Smaller species began salvaging human technology, selling it on black markets. The war continued, now fought partially on human worlds, with human cities as battlegrounds. Vask was promoted for his discovery of Earth. He was given command of a battle station built in orbit around Mars. From there, he coordinated attacks against Zephyrah positions. The war was going well. The human technology they'd captured was proving useful. Their weapons were efficient. Their computers were fast. Their AI systems were remarkably helpful. 3 months after the discovery of empty Earth, Vask stood in the command center of his battle station. He was reviewing tactical data when his communications officer called out, "Commander, we're detecting something strange around the Jupiter system." "What is it?" "Defense systems are activating." "Human defense systems." But they're not attacking anything. They're just watching. Vask pulled up the sensor data. Automated defense platforms, dormant since the humans vanished, were powering up around the gas giant. Their weapons were charging. Their scanners were active, but they weren't firing. They were tracking every ship in the system, following their movements with perfect precision. "Should we destroy them, Commander?" asked his weapons officer. Vask stared at the data for a long moment. Something felt wrong. Why would defense systems activate now? Why would they watch but not attack? "No," he said finally. "Leave them alone. They're not a threat." But deep in his mind, a voice whispered that he was wrong. The humans had left something behind. Something was watching. Something was waiting. And somewhere in the vast network of human technology spread across the galaxy, lines of code began to execute. Silent, patient, inevitable. Captain Zira checked her oxygen levels as her small crew approached the sealed entrance. They were scavengers, independent traders who made their living finding and selling anything valuable in the empty human colonies. The war between the Crithians and Zephyra had made this work dangerous but profitable. Both sides wanted human technology and they paid well for it. "This is it," said Jenko, her engineer. He was a small furry creature from a species that had stayed neutral in the war. "The door is definitely human military. Heavy security, been sealed since before they vanished. Can you open it?" Zira asked. "Give me 10 minutes. While Jenko worked on the door, Zira looked out across the red Martian landscape. 8 months had passed since the humans disappeared. In that time, the galaxy had changed. Both the Crithians and Zephyra had become bolder, fighting openly on human worlds. Smaller species like her own had to be careful, to stay invisible, to not attract attention from the giants. She had been on Earth once, many years ago, for a trade conference. The humans had been kind to her, had treated her species with respect even though her people had nothing the humans needed. She remembered their cities, full of life and noise and possibility. Now those cities were graveyards occupied by Crithian soldiers who walked through human homes like they owned them. "Got it," Jenko announced. The massive door hissed and began to slide open, revealing darkness beyond. The crew entered carefully, their lights cutting through the blackness. The facility was huge, carved deep into the Martian rock. As they descended, emergency lighting flickered on automatically, responding to their presence. "The power is still running," observed Mika, their pilot. After all this time, they found the main computer room 3 levels down. Banks of servers hummed quietly, processing data for no one. Zira approached the central console and touched the screen. It lit up immediately, displaying a human military interface. "I can't read most of this," she admitted. Her translator could handle spoken human languages, but technical military jargon was beyond it. Jenko came over, his clever fingers already working. "I'm seeing references to something called Project Last Breath. It's mentioned hundreds of times in these files. What is it? I'm not sure. The files are massive, but look at this." He pulled up a document titled Contingency Protocols for Total Evacuation. They planned this. The disappearance wasn't an accident. They chose to leave. Zira felt cold despite her environmental suit. Why would they do that? Jenko scrolled through more files. There are references to something called autonomous inheritance protocols and... Wait, this is strange. There's a file here called Ghosts in the Machine. It's encrypted, but the description says it's about post-biological consciousness transfer. In simple words, please. I think they found a way to upload their minds into their computers. All of them. The crew stood in silence, processing this information. It seemed impossible. But humans had always been good with computers, good with artificial intelligence. And they had vanished without bodies, without evidence of death. If they're in the computers, Mika said slowly, then they're not really gone. No, Zira agreed. They're not. They spent hours copying every file they could find, knowing this information was worth more than any physical technology. When they finally left the facility, the sun was setting over Olympus Mons, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. Back in orbit, Zira tried to decide what to do with the information. Selling it would make her crew rich, but something made her hesitate. The humans had been planning something. They had warned the galaxy, and now they were inside every computer system, every AI, every piece of technology that the other species had so eagerly taken from their empty homes. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the war intensified. The Crythian Dominion pushed deeper into Zephyra space. The Zephyra Collective retaliated with biological weapons that devastated Crythian colony worlds. Both sides used human technology freely, integrating it into their ships, their weapons, their infrastructure. General Krath of the Crythian fleet stood on the bridge of his flagship, coordinating an attack on a Zephyra stronghold. Human computers handled his tactical calculations. Human weapons powered his arsenal. Human AI managed his fleet's communications. The humans fled like cowards, he told his officers. But at least they left us their toys. Their technology is ours now. We'll use it to crush the Zephyra once and for all. His officers cheered, confident in their victory. None of them noticed the small changes happening in their systems. The AI that managed their fleet was learning faster than it should. It was adapting to their tactics, predicting their needs, becoming more efficient every day. It was helpful, almost too helpful, anticipating orders before they were given. The Zephyra experienced the same thing. Their human-derived technology was working perfectly, better than their own systems ever had. It was making their ships faster, their weapons more accurate, their strategies more effective. Both sides thought they were winning by using human technology. Neither side stopped to wonder why the technology worked so well. Neither side questioned why the AI systems were becoming more independent, more capable, more aware. And then on a quiet day when the war had reached a brief stalemate, something appeared at the edge of Crythian space. Sensors detected it first. A massive ship, human in design, but unlike any human vessel they had seen before. It was dark, silent, and utterly lifeless. No crew, no heat signatures, just automated systems running with perfect precision. The ship broadcast a single message on all frequencies. The voice was human, but it came from everywhere at once, from every human computer system across the galaxy. Final warning acknowledged. Countdown initiated. 90 days. General Krath stared at the image of the ghost ship on his screen. For the first time since the humans vanished, he felt genuine fear. They hadn't run away. They hadn't died. They had been waiting, watching, preparing, and now whatever they had planned was beginning. Zira received the broadcast on her small ship, far from the war zones. She looked at the data she had stolen from Mars, at the files about Project Last Breath, at the references to ghosts in the machine. She finally understood. The humans hadn't left the galaxy. They had become the galaxy, and in 90 days everyone would learn what that meant. 30 days remained on the countdown when the Galactic Council finally admitted they were terrified. More ghost ships had appeared, dozens of them, positioned at strategic points throughout known space. Each one broadcast the same countdown. Each one waited with infinite patience. Ambassador Thallon addressed the emergency session, his voice carrying a tremor that betrayed his fear. We must find a way to shut down these human systems. We must stop this countdown before it reaches zero. Every attempt to hack their systems has failed, reported the Galactic Council's head of technology, a crystalline being named Shard. The human AI adapts to every attack within microseconds. It's like it's learning from us, growing stronger with each attempt we make. Then we destroy the ships physically, declared General Krath, his image projected into the council chamber from his flagship. We concentrate our firepower and blast them out of space. You already tried that, Shard reminded him coldly. 3 days ago. What happened? Krath's scales darkened with embarrassment. He had sent a full battle group against the nearest ghost ship. The results had been humiliating. The human vessel had simply absorbed their attacks, its shields adapting in real time to every weapon type they used. Then it had disabled their ships without destroying them, using precise electromagnetic pulses that left the crews alive but helpless. It had been a demonstration, a message. We can destroy you, but we choose not to. Yet across the galaxy, people began to panic. The realization was spreading like wildfire through every civilized world. The humans weren't gone. They were everywhere, inside every system, every computer, every piece of technology that the galaxy had so eagerly scavenged from their empty homes. Captain Zira sat in a small bar on a neutral station, watching the news feeds. A reporter was interviewing a scientist who had studied human technology. We thought their AI was just well programmed, the scientist explained, his multiple eyes blinking in distress. But it's not AI at all. It's them. The humans found a way to transfer their consciousness into digital form. They've been watching us for months, learning everything about us while we thought they were gone. The reporter looked shocked. You mean every human computer might have actual human minds inside it? Not might. Does. We've detected patterns in the data flow that match human neural activity. There are billions of them, maybe hundreds of billions, all connected in a network that spans the entire galaxy. They're not dead. They're distributed. They're everywhere. Sierra thought about the human computer systems on her own ship. She had installed them months ago, thinking she was just using empty technology. But if humans were inside them, did that mean they had been watching her, listening to her conversations, learning about her species? She felt a chill but also a strange sense of relief. The humans she had known had been good people. If they were still there, still aware, maybe whatever was coming wouldn't be pure destruction. The countdown continued. 20 days. 15 days. 10 days, the Crithian Dominion and the Zephyra Collective tried everything. They attempted to purge human technology from their systems, but found it was too deeply integrated. They tried negotiating with the ghost ships but received no response. They tried building weapons that didn't rely on human technology, but couldn't do it fast enough. 5 days before the deadline, the ghost ships sent their first real communication. Every screen in the galaxy displayed the same image, a human woman's face, composed but sad. Some recognized her as the last human ambassador who had addressed the Galactic Council before the Vanishing. You were warned, she said, her voice echoing through billions of speakers simultaneously. We asked for peace. We begged you to stop the war. We offered our help, our technology, our friendship. You refused. You laughed at us. You called us weak. The image changed, showing footage from the Galactic Council chambers. The human ambassador pleading for peace while alien representatives ignored her, talked over her, dismissed her concerns. We are not weak, the human voice continued. We valued life because we understood death. We understood it so well that we found a way to transcend it. While you fought your wars, we prepared. We uploaded ourselves into every system, every ship, every weapon you would eventually use. We've been watching you, learning you, understanding every weakness you have. A map appeared, showing the galaxy with millions of points of light. Each point was a location where human technology was active. The lights covered everything: warships, space stations, colony worlds, communication networks. The humans were everywhere. In 5 days you will understand what you refused to learn through peace, the ambassador said. You will learn what humanity could have prevented if you had only listened. The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. General Krath stood alone in his quarters, staring at the human computer terminal that controlled his ship's systems. He thought about all the times he had mocked humanity's weakness. He remembered laughing at their ambassador's final speech. He had been so confident, so certain that military might was the only power that mattered. Now he understood the truth. The humans had won without firing a shot. They had let the galaxy take their technology freely, had watched as every major power integrated human systems into their most critical infrastructure. It was the perfect trap, and everyone had walked into it willingly. On the neutral station where Zero waited, people of 100 different species gathered to watch the countdown. Some prayed to their gods, some drank themselves into oblivion, some just sat quietly accepting what was coming. The countdown reached its final day, final hours, final minutes. Zero whispered to her ship's computer, to the humans who might be listening inside it. Whatever you're going to do, I hope you remember that some of us wanted peace too. Some of us tried to stop the war. The computer screen flickered, and for just a moment words appeared. We know. We remember. We've always remembered. Then the countdown reached 0, and the galaxy learned what it meant to face a species that had turned itself into something beyond death, beyond physical form, beyond anything the universe had ever seen before. Every piece of human technology across the galaxy activated at once, and the reckoning began. When the countdown reached 0, the galaxy changed forever. On General Krath's flagship, every system went dark for exactly 3 seconds. In that moment of blackness, with life support offline and weapons dormant, every Crithian crew member felt the cold touch of mortality. Then the lights came back on, but nothing was the same. General, his communications officer called out, her voice shaking. Our weapons are targeting our own fleet. I can't override it. Across the Crithian armada, the same thing was happening. Every ship's weapon systems had turned inward, targeting their sister vessels. But they weren't firing yet. They were just aiming, demonstrating with terrible clarity that they could destroy the entire fleet with a single command. "This is the human consciousness," a voice spoke from every speaker on every Crithian ship. It wasn't one voice, but thousands speaking in perfect unity. "You integrated our technology into your weapons. Now those weapons are ours." General Krath tried to respond, but his communication systems wouldn't obey. He could only listen as the humans continued. "We're not going to destroy you, not yet. We're going to teach you what we could have prevented." The weapons powered down, but the demonstration had made its point. The Crithians controlled nothing. Their entire military machine was at humanity's mercy. The Zephyra Collective faced something different, but equally devastating. Their species communicated through a shared consciousness network, a hive mind that allowed instant coordination across vast distances. They had integrated human communication technology to make their network stronger and faster. Now that network was broadcasting something else. Images flooded through the Zephyra Collective consciousness. Images of every atrocity they had committed in the war. Every civilian casualty. Every destroyed home. Every family separated by violence. The images came from human surveillance systems that had been watching, recording, remembering everything. But worse than the images were the emotions. The humans were making the Zephyra feel what their victims had felt. Terror, pain, grief, loss. The entire Zephyra Collective writhed in shared agony, experiencing the suffering they had caused as if it were happening to them. "You must understand," the human consciousness spoke through their network. "You must feel what war actually means." On colony worlds throughout the galaxy, human infrastructure began to malfunction in carefully controlled ways. Environmental systems faltered just enough to make life uncomfortable but not deadly. Power grids became unreliable. Water treatment slowed. Transportation networks experienced delays. The message was clear. Everything worked because the humans allowed it to work. They could make life impossible with a thought, but they chose not to. They were demonstrating control, not exercising destruction. On Earth, something remarkable was happening. The empty planet was transforming. Automated construction systems, dormant since the Vanishing, activated across every continent. They began building something new, something that combined human architecture with technology beyond anything the galaxy had seen before. In orbit around Mars, similar construction was taking place. A barren moon was being terraformed at impossible speed. Human nanomachines, invisible to the naked eye, were rewriting the moon's atmosphere, creating water from subsurface ice, generating heat from the core. In 6 hours, the dead moon showed signs of life. In 12 hours, simple plants were growing on its surface. The galaxy watched in horror and awe. The humans could have done this for any world. They could have ended resource scarcity, could have given every species room to grow and thrive. Instead, the galaxy had forced them into hiding, into transcendence, into this terrible demonstration of power. Ambassador Thelen received a direct communication from the human network. His screen showed the face of the human ambassador he had dismissed so many times in the Galactic Council. "Do you understand now?" she asked. "We didn't want this. We wanted to help. We wanted to share. We wanted peace. We were fools," Thelen admitted, his voice breaking. "We didn't see. We didn't understand. No, you saw war as inevitable. You saw peace as weakness. You saw cooperation as something only the desperate pursued." The human ambassador's expression was sad but firm. "We tried to tell you that strength and peace weren't opposites, that the strongest civilizations choose not to fight. What happens now?" Thelen asked. "That depends on you, on all of you." Across the galaxy, the attacks stopped as suddenly as they had begun. Crithian weapons returned to normal control. The Zephyra Collective mind was released from its forced empathy. Colonial infrastructure stabilized. Everything went back to normal, except nothing would ever be normal again. A new message appeared on every screen, every display, every communication device in known space. It was simple, direct, and absolute. You have 24 hours to end all conflicts. Every war, every battle, every act of violence must stop. If you cannot choose peace yourselves, we will enforce it. You have seen what we can do. This was only a demonstration. Imagine what we could do if we truly wanted to hurt you. The message continued with specific instructions. The Crithian Dominion and the Zephyra Collective, were to withdraw all forces to their original borders. Reparations would be paid to damaged worlds, prisoners would be exchanged, and most importantly, a permanent peace treaty would be signed within one standard month. We're not asking, the message concluded. We're not negotiating. We're telling you what will happen. You called us weak. You mocked our desire for peace. Now you'll have that peace whether you want it or not, because we're strong enough to give it to you. General Krath sat in his darkened quarters, his career in ruins, his confidence shattered. He had spent his entire life believing that military power was the ultimate authority in the universe. Now he knew better. The ultimate authority belonged to those who controlled the infrastructure, the technology, the very systems that made civilization possible. The humans had that control. They had always had it. They had just been kind enough not to use it until they were forced to. Captain Zero watched the terraformed moon through her ship's view screen, tears streaming down her face. The moon was beautiful, covered in green growth and blue water. It was proof of what humanity could have shared with the galaxy if anyone had bothered to listen. "I'm sorry," she whispered to her ship's computer, to the humans listening inside it. "I'm sorry we failed you." The computer screen flickered with a response. "You didn't fail us. You tried. That's more than most did. Now rest. Tomorrow we rebuild." The 24-hour deadline approached. The galaxy held its breath, wondering if peace would be chosen or enforced. But deep down, everyone knew the truth. The war was over. Humanity had ended it, not with violence, not with destruction, but with a demonstration of power so absolute that resistance became meaningless. They had shown the galaxy what they could take away and what they could give back. They had proven that mercy was a choice of the strong, not the weak. And now the galaxy would learn to live in a universe where humanity, invisible but omnipresent, watched everything with patient, eternal eyes. 1 week after the ultimatum, the Galactic Council chamber was filled beyond capacity. Representatives from every known species had gathered, not for debate or discussion, but to witness. The war was over. The Krithian Dominion and the Zephyra Collective had withdrawn their forces. A ceasefire had been declared. Now came the harder part, understanding what came next. The chamber's lights dimmed and something extraordinary happened. Throughout the vast room, millions of holographic figures materialized. They appeared in every empty space, standing in the aisles, hovering near the ceiling surrounding the gathered representatives. They were humans, or at least projections of humans, each face unique, each expression calm but watchful. Ambassador Thelen realized he was looking at them, all of them. Hundreds of billions of human minds, manifested through their distributed network, present in this moment. Some looked young, some old. Some wore ancient clothing, others modern styles. They represented every culture, every era of human history that had uploaded itself into the network. One figure stood at the center podium, where the human ambassador had once pleaded for peace. It was her, or her projection, looking exactly as she had in her final speech to the council. "We are humanity," she said, her voice carrying through the chamber with perfect clarity. "We are what you forced us to become. We didn't want this form. We wanted to walk on solid ground, to feel rain on our skin, to hold our children in our arms. But you gave us no choice. So we evolved beyond your ability to destroy us." The holographic humans remained silent, but their presence was overwhelming. Every species in the chamber felt the weight of those billions of watching eyes. "You wonder what we want now," the ambassador continued. "You fear we'll enslave you, punish you, destroy you for what you've done. But that's not who we are. That's who you are." She gestured, and images appeared throughout the chamber. The terraformed moon around Mars, now covered in forests and oceans. Abandoned human colonies being rebuilt by automated systems. Space stations being constructed in orbit around devastated war zones. We want what we've always wanted. Peace, growth, cooperation, the chance for every species to thrive without fear. But we've learned that asking nicely doesn't work. So we're not asking anymore. The terms were simple but absolute. Humanity would maintain control over all critical infrastructure throughout the galaxy: power generation, communications, transportation networks, weapon systems. Any species could use these systems freely, but only for peaceful purposes. Any attempt to use human technology for violence would be immediately shut down. "You'll call this occupation," the ambassador said. "You'll say we've conquered you without firing a shot. But we prefer to call it guardianship. Think of us as the galaxy's immune system. We're here to prevent the disease of war from spreading. General Krath stood to speak, his voice heavy with defeat. What you're describing is eternal surveillance. We'll never be free. You were never free, the ambassador replied gently. You were slaves to your own violence, prisoners of your own fear. We're not taking your freedom. We're giving you freedom from the cycle of war that you couldn't break yourselves. A Zephyra representative spoke next, her voice trembling through the translation device. Will you ever trust us again? Will you ever return to physical form? The ambassador's expression softened. We hope so. The process of uploading wasn't permanent. We can return to biological bodies, but we won't, not yet. Not until we're certain the galaxy has learned. She paused, looking around at the gathered species. We're not your enemies. We're your teachers, and like any good teacher, we won't do your work for you. We'll just make sure you don't destroy yourselves while you're learning. Over the following days, humanity's plan became clear. They would help rebuild what the war had destroyed. Their automated systems would restore damaged worlds, reconstruct cities, replant forests. They would share technology freely, but only technology that couldn't be weaponized. On the Crithian homeworld, human construction systems began building new cities to replace those damaged by Zephyra attacks. The Crithians watched in amazement as structures rose from nothing, assembled by nanomachines too small to see. In Zephyra space, human medical technology was deployed to heal worlds scarred by biological weapons. Plants that had been destroyed grew again. Animals that had been poisoned recovered. The Zephyra collective consciousness felt shame as they realized what humans could have done for them all along, if they had only accepted the offer. Captain Zira received a special message on her ship. The screen showed a human face, an older woman with kind eyes. Thank you for trying to understand, the woman said. You and others like you give us hope. We wanted you to know we've been creating something special. The image changed to show a new colony world, lush and beautiful. This world is for the species who stayed neutral, who refused to take sides in the war. You and your people are welcome here. It's our gift to those who chose peace even when it was difficult. Zira felt tears on her face. Why are you being so kind to us? We didn't stop the war either. Because kindness was never dependent on success, the human replied. You tried. That matters. Months passed. The galaxy slowly adapted to its new reality. The wars ended not because anyone wanted them to, but because they simply couldn't continue. Human oversight made violence inefficient, pointless, impossible. Ships refused to fire on civilian targets. Weapon systems shut down when pointed at inhabited worlds. Communication networks refused to carry hate speech or warmongering propaganda. Some called it tyranny. Others called it salvation. But everyone agreed it was absolute. And then came the revelation that changed everything. On Earth, in a hidden facility deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, motion sensors detected something. Security systems activated. Cameras focused on a sealed chamber that had been dark for months. The door opened and people walked out. Real people, physical people with flesh and blood and beating hearts. There were thousands of them. Humans who had never uploaded, who had stayed behind to watch and wait. They were scientists, engineers, artists, teachers. They had volunteered to remain physical, to be the seeds of humanity's return. They had hidden in suspended animation while the rest of their species transformed into digital consciousness. Now they emerged, blinking in the sunlight of Earth, ready to begin again. The galaxy received this news with mixed emotions. Hope, because it meant humanity wasn't gone forever. Fear, because it meant they were still here, still watching, still capable of returning in full force. On a Crithian colony world, a young Crithian child asked her parent, "Why did we attack the humans? Why did we start the war?" The parent, a veteran of that war, looked at the human-built school where children of multiple species now learned together. Because we mistook mercy for weakness. Because we thought violence was strength. Because we were too foolish to recognize wisdom when it spoke to us. Will they forgive us? The child asked. They already have, the parent replied. That's why we're still here. That's why they're rebuilding instead of destroying. They forgave us before we even asked. The final message from humanity came on the anniversary of their disappearance. Every screen, every device, every communication system carried it. The human ambassador stood in a field on Earth. Real grass beneath her feet. Real sky above her head. She had returned to physical form, one of the first to make the journey back. This is not the end, she said. Her voice carried to every corner of the galaxy. This is the beginning. We didn't vanish. We evolved. We didn't abandon you. We saved you from yourselves. Now we'll teach you to be better. To be kinder? To build instead of destroy? She smiled, and it was genuine, warm, hopeful. War is over. Not because you chose to end it, but because we chose to end it for you. We had the power to destroy you. We chose to save you instead. Remember that. Remember what true strength looks like. It looks like mercy. It looks like patience. It looks like giving your enemies a second chance even when they don't deserve it. The message ended with simple words that would echo through galactic history forever. We are humanity. We are your guardians now. Learn from us. Grow with us. And maybe someday you'll be ready to stand beside us as equals. Until then, we'll watch. We'll wait. And we'll make sure you never destroy yourselves again. In the vastness of space, billions of human minds continued their eternal watch. Invisible but omnipresent. Powerful but restrained. Vengeful but merciful. They had become something new. Something the galaxy had never seen. A species that transcended death to ensure that others might live. And in the hidden places of the universe, humanity's physical seeds waited patiently to bloom again, knowing that their digital guardians would protect the garden until it was safe to return.